Many years ago, in the serene village of Osusu, a village known for its peace and hospitality, the great Oracle of Ikenga, the god of thunder and lightning, was at the center of the existence of the people of Osusu. The Oracle of Ikenga protected the people, and in turn, they reverenced and worshipped him. Generations after generations, the oracle was divinely held by the family of Okoro, the chief priest of Ikenga. This chief priest ensured that everyone in Osusu worshipped Ikenga and abided by his dictates. Everything was going on smoothly and peacefully in Osusu until four notorious youths in the village started to disturb the peace of the people. Amadi, Ibe, Ikedi, and Afam became people nightmare in Osusu. They would go into people's farms and harvest their cassavas, plantains, and corn. If anyone as much as left his goat or hen to wander about, these young thieves would make a delicious pepper soup from the animal. At one time, they were passing by a woman's hut when they perceived the sweet, delicious aroma of egusi soup. They traced the aroma and it led them to the kitchen of Nneka, a newly married woman. Nneka was preparing the egusi soup, which she and her husband were to eat as dinner that evening. She had gone inside her hut to get the tray with which to serve the food. As she came out with the tray, she saw the four notorious village thieves carrying her pots of soup. She tried to run after them, shouting, but Ibe, one of the thieves, picked up a stick and turned to frighten her. Nneka had to run back inside her hut. When her husband returned home later that evening, Nneka told him of the incidents. Azuka, Nneka's husband, was very angry and he stormed out in search of the boys. He went to Amadi and Ibe's house. Amadi and Ibe were brothers. Azuka saw them sitting outside their hut. He rushed over to them and asked them to return his wife's pot of soup. They looked at him and ignored him. Azuka shouted, "Is it not you I am talking to?" Amadi looked at him and said, "Are you drunk or did you miss your way? What business do we have with your wife's pot of soup?" Ibe looked at Azuka and told him, "Are you sure it is not one of the people you are owing that came to carry your soup? Oga, please leave here." Azuka looked at them frustrated and left. He then went over to Ikedi's house. Ikedi's father, Okoro, was the chief priest in charge of the Oracle of Ikenga in Osusu. Azuka met him resting in his obi and greeted him. "Nnanyi, good evening. Nnanyi, I am not happy. Your son and his well-known notorious friends came to my house and carried the pot of soup my wife cooked this evening." Ikedi's father was shocked. He asked Azuka if he was sure of what he just said. Azuka said yes. Okoro then called Ikedi. He asked him, "Did you go to Azuka's house to take his wife's pot of soup?" Ikedi looked at his father surprised. "Papa, soup kwa? What will I be doing with that? I didn't take any soup, Papa." Okoro sent Ikedi inside the house and then apologized to Azuka. He offered to give Azuka money to replace the soup, but Azuka declined and told him to chain his son. After Azuka left, Okoro called his son and cautioned him. "I have told you countless times to stay away from those rascals that are misleading you. Don't say I did not warn you. The ear that refuses to listen will be cut off with the head when the time comes." Ikedi grumbled, "Papa, I said I did not take any soup," and walked away. What happened was that when the four friends took the soup, They went to a nearby farm and licked it all, throwing the pots into a bush. They continued to disturb the peace of the community until they reached their peak. On this fateful day, the people of Osusu were celebrating the festival of their Oracle, Ikenga. It was a very important day for them because that was the day each family gets to individually offer Thanksgiving sacrifices and make petitions to Ikenga. It was a day of public show and merriment, and visitors from neighboring villages were always in attendance. One of the neighboring villages, Ibari, has always been envious of Osusu because of their Ikenga. They believed it was the Ikenga oracle that made the land of Osusu so prosperous and great, and they secretly wished to have the oracle in their land. One prominent man from Ibari attended the Ikenga festival in Osusu, and he couldn't help but wish he could lay his hands on the oracle. He wished it was his village, Ibari, that was hosting this festival, and people from several villages came to celebrate with them. Unknown to this man, the 4 notorious thieves of Osusu had been observing him. They saw the way he carried himself, and they knew immediately that he would be rich and well loaded. They knew he was a visitor, so there was no risk involved if they robbed him. They had to come up with a plan to lay an ambush for him. After the festival, everyone started to depart to their destinations. This man from Ibari also left. When he was at a place where he was walking alone, the 4 thieves attacked him, collecting all the valuable things he had, including his expensive Isiagu senator. They took all the items to the market the next day and sold them off. Then they went ahead and shared the money among themselves. They continued with their activities in the village, and nobody could do anything to them, because even though they were reported to the king, he would only punish them, and they would rest for a little while only to continue their activities again. On one of such days, they were wandering about looking for what to steal, when the man they robbed on the day of the Ikenga festival came up to them. This man from Ibari was called Omekago. He was astonished that there were youths in Osusu who were not scared of Ikenga and could defy the sacred Ikenga festival by stealing on that day. It meant only one thing, that they were not afraid of Ikenga and they were driven by money. He saw it as a perfect opportunity to achieve his long-harbored plan. He would use them to steal the Oracle of Ikenga from Osusu. Bringing Ikenga to his village, Ibari, would make the king of Ibari happy and appoint him as the Onowu. When the 4 thieves saw Omekago, they were afraid for a moment. Why did he come after them? But then they regained their confidence back and faced him. Amadi was the first to ask, "Ehen, what is it? What business do you have here in Osusu?" Omekagu walked closer to them and said, "I have not come to bring up issues with you. Let sleeping dogs lie. I came to help you. This petty stealing you are doing will not take you anywhere. I have a big business deal for you that will make you rich." The 4 young men looked at themselves. They were suspicious of this man whom they had earlier stolen from. Afam asked him what the business was about. Omekagu replied, "I will give you 1 bag of cowries each." On hearing this, their eyes grew wide in excitement. Omekagu then shifted closer to them and whispered, "I want you to steal the Oracle of Ikenga for me." The young men shifted back in fear, looking at Omekagu in disbelief. Omekagu told them, I know it's a small task for you. Just think of the money you stand to gain if you do this. I will be back in 2 days to know your decision. Think about it wisely." He then left the young men who were still standing looking at him speechless. Amadi and Ibe both left for their house, while Ifedi and Afam went to their different houses. They needed to calm down to process the whole situation. When Amadi and Ibe got home, they locked themselves in their room. Ibe asked Amadi what he thought about the man's proposal. Amadi said, "It's very tempting, I must say. I mean, the money is very huge, but the task is very dangerous." Ibe intercepted him immediately. "What is too dangerous?" Amadi answered, "Ikenga, of course. That god is a very dangerous one. If we carry this our thefts and go close to Ikenga, he might strike us down." Ibe looked at Amadi and laughed. Then he said, "Come, Amadi, don't tell me you are one of those people who believe in those superstitions. Come off it. Nothing will happen. They just fabricate all those things to scare people off. Don't you know it is Ifedi's father that eats all the yams and goats people offer to Ikenga? Ikenga cannot move, neither can it talk. Relax, nothing will happen. We'll give Ikenga to the man and collect our money. Me, I am tired of this small theft we have been doing. I want to make it big, and this is a perfect opportunity. So you better forget about all those things and let's start planning on how to carry out this mission smoothly." Amadi looked at Ibe, trying to reason to what he said. Ibe might be right though. Nothing will happen as far as we don't get caught, Amadi thought to himself. That evening, Ifedi went to meet his father Okoro and asked him about the oracle. "Papa, how long has Ikenga been in this our village?" Okoro was surprised at Ifedi's question. When did he suddenly become interested in the oracle? He answered him, "Ikenga has been in our village for a very long time. My fathers before me said that when the great Ikenga came down from his abode, he went around several villages looking for where to pitch his earthly tents. When he came to Osusu, he was moved by the peaceful and pure nature of the people, and then he decided to stay in our village, and he has been here ever since." Ifedi nodded his head. Papa, that's good to know. So you are trying to say that Ikenga cannot leave Osusu? What if someone takes Ikenga to another village? What will happen?" Okoro looked at his son suspiciously. He didn't trust Ifedi. These questions were leading to somewhere. "It's an abomination," Okoro said. "It is only Ikenga that can decide to go to another village. If anyone tries as much as take the great Ikenga away from Osusu, calamity and doom await such a person. Remember, Ikenga is the god of thunder and lightning." "But Ikedi, why are you asking all these questions?" "Nothing, oh Papa. I just want to start getting myself familiar with our family heritage. You know I'll be taking over from you as the custodian of Ikenga when you die." "Thank you, Papa. I want to go and see my friends." Okoro looked at Ikedi pitifully as he left. "I pray you don't do anything that will lead to your destruction," Okoro thought. That same evening, the 4 young men, Amadi, Ibe, Ifedi, and Afam, gathered at their usual meeting points. Ibe was the first to tell them that he was interested in the deal. Afam joined in, followed by Amadi. They looked at Ikedi, waiting for him to talk. Ikedi told them that the tax was a dangerous one, as taking Ikenga away from the village would lead to great disaster. Ibe was impatient with him and told him that if he was not willing, they would do the job without him and take his own share of the money. Ikedi quickly cut him off. I am interested though. At least I know that Ikenga will spare me because of my father, but I fear for the three of you. Afam told him to focus on himself and not worry about their safety. They met with Omekagu 2 days later and told him their decision. He was to come in 4 days' time at night to come collect the statue from them. On that night, the 4 young men set out to carry out their plan. Amadi and Ikenga stood at the entrance of the shrine to look out for anyone who might come around, while Ibe and Afam went inside to take the statue. They carried the statue and handed it over to Omekagu, who gave them 4 bags of cowries in exchange. They took the bags of cowries to Afam's house, where it would be safe and to avoid any suspicious questions from anyone. Afam was an orphan who lived alone. The next day, they all went to Afam's house in jubilant mood to discuss their way forward and how to spend their money. Amadi and Ibe, the 2 brothers, went to the popular village palm wine seller's shop to buy 2 bottles of palm wine. They believed that the job well done was worthy of celebration. At Afam's house, they were all drinking and discussing on how to take their own share of the money and leave the village before any suspicions will be raised. Suddenly, Ikedi and Afam held their stomach, crying in pain. Foam started coming out of their mouths, and it didn't take long before they died. Amadi and Ibe looked at each other, and Ibe burst out laughing. I told you, it will work. Now we'll have the whole money to ourselves. Amadi nodded in approval, and they both collected the money from Afam's house and went away, leaving the 2 bodies behind. They went and quickly packed their bags, leaving the village immediately. Amadi was suspicious of his brother Ibe. He didn't trust him anymore because of the way he had been behaving of recent. He had to do something to protect himself, to avoid Ibe from killing him and keeping all the money to himself. They had just left the boundary of Osusu when Ibe told Amadi that he wanted to urinate. As Ibe turned to urinate, Amadi quickly grabbed a big strong stick and hit Ibe on his head twice, killing him instantly. Amadi was afraid. His hands trembled. He had just killed his own brother. He didn't know what spirit possessed him to do that. Meanwhile, at Osusu, it had been discovered that Ifedi and Afam were poisoned. The youths immediately swung into action in search of Amadi and Ibe, who were the primary suspects. The hunters among them carried guns, while the other youths had big sticks in their hands. Amadi was still recovering from the shock of him killing his own brother when he heard a loud noise behind him. It seemed as if a large crowd was coming behind, and he quickly carried the 4 bags of cowries and made to run further. The youths were running fast, and they soon saw Amadi from afar. They shouted at him to stop and surrender, but Amadi ran even faster. At that point, one of the youths shot at Amadi with his gun. Amadi fell to the ground dead. The youths then went and carried his body and the bags of cowries back to Osusu. They also carried Ibe's body, which they had seen along the bush. News quickly spread that the 4 notorious thieves in Osusu were dead. As expected, people were happy. Finally, Ikenga has descended his anger upon them. It was long overdue. There would be peace in the village finally. While the news was flying about, Omekagu came to Osusu to look for the 4 young men he had done business with. He was shocked when he heard that they were all dead. He was furious also because he had just realized that he was deceived by these criminals. The statue they gave to him was fake. And now that they were dead, it means there was no hope of getting his money back. He was filled with regrets and quietly returned to his village. Okoro Ifedi's father suspected that his son was up to something evil after he asked him those questions about Ikenga that evening. Only him knew the disaster that would befall the entire village if Ikenga was stolen and taken out of the village by anyone. He had gotten the premonition and had to replace the original statue with a fake one that night. Only him knew in the entire village that there was a fake statue. It was handed down to him by his father, and only the custodian of Ikenga must know about this. This was to protect the entire village from disaster. He thought doing this would save his son. Never did he think that he would be killed by those evil friends of his. After all the warnings I gave to you, you turned deaf ears, and now the same people you committed so much crimes with have taken you. Rest in peace, Ikedi. From then on, the village of Osusu enjoyed a new peace and breath of fresh air. Parents would often use the story of the 4 notorious thieves to serve as warnings to their children whenever they were mischievous. Thank you for watching this story. Please, I want you to share with me what moral lessons you can pick from the story. And I want to use this opportunity to wish Ghana a happy Independence Day. And also, let us all wish Ghana a happy Independence Day in the comment section. Also indicate the country from which you are watching the story from. Don't forget to subscribe if you've not done so already. Share this video with your loved ones and also give it a thumbs up. Till I bring another video your way. Bye!